There is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump. I know maybe sometimes you haven't gotten the backing that you've wanted, and you're going to get so much backing. Maybe you're going to say, please don't give us so much backing. Mr. President, please, we don't need that much backing.
That was
it's
Donald
actually,
Trump.
What's fascinating me is I remember watching that, being horrified and thinking,
Day one.
Is this as weird as it gets?
No.
That actually was. It's a quaint moment from the.
So sweet.
It's kind of like watching Happy Days in '75. The basement of your house. It was actually kind of normal compared to.
Interesting
where
in
we
light
are
of
today.
yesterday's developments between the president and his intel chiefs. I thought yesterday was absolutely staggering in his tweets. Beyond.
Well, it is clarifying, isn't it? I mean, it's clarifying that, again, people need to stop saying that Donald Trump is taking a different position than all of his intel chiefs. And from the United States military, from the CIA director, from the NSI, from the FBI director, from all the directors that he himself selected, all Republicans, we need to stop saying that Donald Trump is taking a position different than them and just need to start saying the truth, which is Donald Trump is adopting Vladimir Putin's position on the FBI, on the CIA, on Dan Coats, on every intel leader, the military intelligence leaders. He has decided that he is going to adopt the position of an ex-KGB agent instead of the very intel chiefs in the intel community and the military community that he now is supposed to be running.
And that is where we begin this morning. Along with Joe, Willie, and me, we have the president of the Council on Foreign Relations and author of the book, A World in Disarray, Richard Haass, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, four-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He is Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst for NBC News and MSNBC. Also with us, the author of the Washington Post early morning newsletter, Power Up, Jackie Alemany from Washington. Good to have you.
Admiral, it really is clarifying. This week is clarifying. A lot of people may be distressed by what they're seeing from the President of the United States, but I am glad that the world has seen that we as a country, at least the people that run our intel communities and our military, are standing shoulder to shoulder. We know who the bad guys are. We know who the good guys are. And we also, as we showed the world in November, we have elections. We have a lot of elections, and we're coming at you. If you think you're going to take advantage of us over the next 2 years, because who our commander-in-chief is, just wait. Because these are Donald Trump's own intel chiefs that are still looking at you and we still know what you're doing.
Indeed. As you watch that display of intellectual firepower called our intelligence community, and you walk down the list of those people, you had to think how proud you are that all of them stood and delivered. And here you have Gina Haspel, lifelong career CIA agent, generals who have spent their life embedded in military intelligence. Dan Coats, look in the dictionary under old hand in foreign affairs, an ambassador, a senator. This is really the A-team. And then Donald Trump says they should go back to school.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What a fool.
And you got to ask yourself, what school is that? Did someone not tell him Trump University is closed?
Right.
I mean, this is the school.
And by the way,
this is the
what Americans need to understand, too, and I won't direct this towards the Admiral, because he's still, he's got some retired friends he likes to hang out with. But, Richard, you and I know. And I always knew when I was on the Armed Services Committee, if I was looking at a one-star general, I knew he wanted one thing, the second star. If he had a third star, he wanted a fourth star. Sometimes people will measure their testimony not to enrage the commander-in-chief. Sometimes they're, again, when it's close, they're never going to lie to you. And it never had an admiral or a general or anybody lie to me on the Armed Services Committee. But they rarely come out and do what happened the other day and just come out and basically say the President of the United States is dead wrong. And these are the facts that we Americans need to know to keep this country safe.
You know, Joe, the president used the schooling metaphor. Well, what we saw was a textbook case the other day of people speaking truth to power. Clearly was not what this commander-in-chief wanted to hear, but it was what he needed to hear, what Congress needed to hear. More important, it was what the country needed to hear.
What the world needed to hear.
And what the world needed to hear. It showed that American institutions, and many important institutions here, individuals are still willing to, again, speak the truth, to traffic in the truth, no matter how uncomfortable or it may be for people politically. And then on issue after issue, ISIS is not defeated. Iran is still complying with the 2015 nuclear deal. North Korea is unlikely to give up its nuclear weapons. Russia is interfering in the internal politics of the United States. On issue after issue, it made clear that the assumptions that the president are acting on are simply inconsistent with the facts.
And let's underline again, these are his choices for these positions. The head of the FBI, of the CIA, his national security advisor, head of DNA. These are his choices. These are not Obama holdovers that he's attacking. No. He talks about them on Twitter with this cheap rhetoric like they're
deep state.
Right, but he's talking about them like they're cable news hosts he doesn't like. They said something on a show and he's mad at them about that. These are his choices. These are career professionals who are laying out the facts, and he doesn't like the facts, so he's trying to school them on national security.
Also this morning, the president had promised 13,000 jobs to Wisconsin in a factory for which he claimed absolute credit and described as, quote, the eighth wonder of the world.
Wow,
now
really
people there
they've cheapened that.
are wondering.
Moniker.
Summer vacation.
I mean, I remember when it was Ruby Falls.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I mean.
Well, people there are wondering where are the jobs. It's something we need to talk about because these are the broken promises that are leaving people hanging and no value of the truth at this point. But let's get to some of the details behind what we've been talking about so far. President Trump is scheduled to receive an intelligence briefing this afternoon, just one day after he blasted the nation's spy chiefs on the heels of them contradicting his rosy claims about the top threats America is facing and either dispelling or remaining silent on the ones the president is pushing. On Wednesday, Trump tweeted, "The intelligence people seem to be extremely passive and naive when it comes to the dangers of Iran." My God.
Because I'm just wondering, Admiral, have you ever heard anybody in all of your years of knowing Gina Haspel accusing her of being passive or naive?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
I will give anybody inside the CIA $1,000 for evidence of her being attacked for being passive and naive.
Not at all. Let's think back to her confirmation hearings. What was the line on Gina Haspel? It was aggressive, smart, lethal. She is a CIA operative, a CIA officer, and she represents that community. And another whole aspect of this is the message this is sending to the people on all of those teams, all the way down to the most junior recruits walking into Langley, the midshipmen walking into Annapolis. As Richard said, textbook, this is your job, speak truth to power.